chapter 14. The Gospel of John in chapter 14. Just listening to Brother Altop preach on the way into church, and he gave an illustration that was just spot on with this sermon. Although I had to double check. You always have to fact check preachers. Okay, if I say something and I give details, you got to fact check me, because either I made it up or I forgot some of the details. Which that's mostly what happens, is I forget the details. I'm never intentionally making up stories, I promise. But I do forget details and mix some stories together. Especially if I'm not going off of notes and just going off of memory, and that tends to be what happens. And he got a little detail wrong, possibly because he went off memory too. He's got a pretty sharp memory. But he was talking about Carrie ten Boom and her time being arrested. She was, of course, a Dutch lady who was made an effort to try to save Jews from being killed, murdered. And so she's opened her house up and had a secret chamber in there, a hiding place, and saved quite a many. I like that better. She saved quite a many. And she eventually, of course, got arrested and put into her own concentration camp, a ladies' concentration camp. And she had a record book in her possession, in her house, and that record book had names of contacts of people that were helpers in the underground movement to try to save the Jews. And you can just imagine how incriminating that would be, to have other names of family members or neighbors and or people out of town, and to have a record of those names written down, and maybe even of other Jews that had been saved. You can imagine how damaging that could be. And she came in before a judge as she was being sentenced to go to this prison camp. She came in front of a judge, and that judge she didn't know, but the judge set that book on the table like this. And asked her, do you know how bad this is? And she's just like, she knew, but she didn't hide anything. She publicly actually gave the gospel. But that judge, I don't know why, but that judge ended up taking that book that would have condemned. She would have gone straight to the death penalty, however they did it. She would have died. It would have been a death sentence. But instead of that judge took that little book, and they were heating their building with a fireplace, and he took that book and put it right in the fire and burnt it to ashes. And I was thinking of that as that being an answer to prayer, because you're just not going to have something like that happen. But God gave her favor with that judge to where she was saved, and then she had more answers to prayer. Where when she ended up getting released out of a concentration camp by a clerical accident. And she was an older lady. I mean, older. If you're older than me, you're older, obviously. But she was over 50. I know that's young. But she was over 50, and she got released. She was the only one that got released. And then a week or two later, all of the ladies who were over 50 ended up dying. Like, she got released by accident. And all the other ladies ended up going to the death chamber, or going to their burning, gassing chambers that they did. And you say, why is that? Well, I guess God just wasn't done with her yet, right? So prayer is what I want to talk about here this evening, and those kind of events those are kind of big answers to prayer. Like, you can really see the hand of God move in things. I feel like we had a couple of those moments when we were in Ukraine, because it was a big scenario, lots of people praying for us. And we noticed God did some things, and you don't really notice in the moment, you just notice it afterwards as you look back. But John 14, there's actually 7, I don't have 7 points, I have 1 point, but it's repeated 7 times. And I want to look at John 14, starting off here. I love verse 1, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. Now we're going to skip on down. Verse 11, believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father in me, or else believe me for the very work's sake. Now notice verse, no, I'm not there yet. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that believeth on me, the works that I do, shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go unto my Father. So kind of catch the theme, or kind of get an understanding of what the context is here. Jesus was, to say this is to belittle him, but he was an amazing person. And he did some amazing things. And he's giving a promise that greater things than these shall he do, the Comforter, inside of us or through us, because I go into my Father. Now notice verse 13. And what you want to do is you want to imagine yourself being in Jesus Christ's presence, and imagine him just randomly telling you, verse 13, and whatsoever ye shall ask in my name, that will I do. Imagine your dad saying, if you need something, just let me know. Okay, maybe that's not big enough. Imagine let's just say Donald Trump. Imagine Donald Trump knowing you personally and saying, if Micaiah was up here, we could do a Trump impersonation. I don't got that talent. So what if you need anything, just let me know, and we'll get it done. Now, you can imagine there's going to be a little bit of power with that, or a little bit of a little range of responsibility, a little range of opportunity. Well, this is a man let's count it back. Somebody blind, he healed his eyes. Someone had leprosy, he healed them. Somebody was deaf, he healed them. Somebody was dead, he raised them from the dead. Somebody was hungry, he fed them with just a couple little bits of food, a couple little things of fish and bread. What else has he done? Walked on water, calmed the storms, answered all the questions anybody could ever ask him, shot down any kind of rebukes or any kind of opportunities to close him down, walked through mobs that was trying to murder him, that were stirred up and just kind of disappeared through them. Whatsoever ye shall ask in my name, that will I do. Can you see the broadness of this? Can you see the power in this? Whatsoever ye shall ask in my name, that will I do, that the Father may be glorified in the Son. Now he immediately repeats it, verse 14. If ye shall ask anything in my name, I will do it. Now you know Esther chapter 5. I'm going to turn back there. You can turn back there with me if you'd like to. Esther chapter 5. We're going to be heading back to John here. Esther chapter 5. And I think it's in chapter 7 as well. But you know the story when Esther, who's the wife of the king, desires to go in and visit with the king, and here she goes, and she goes in and she's worried, and she says, no one, not anybody gets in attendance with the king. You got to have a special invitation from the king, or else you can't just go in there. And if you go in there unattended, he's got guards, and they keep it very tight, and they kill you. And so she prays, asks for prayer, they pray, and she ends up going into the king's presence. And down in verse 3, it just says this, Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther, and what is thy request? It shall be even given thee to the half of the kingdom. And he repeats that in verse 6. The king said unto Esther, what is thy petition? It shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom, it shall be performed. Now, we're just going to go back to John. I'm getting the understanding here of these verses we're going to look at in John, that we're not dealing with a king who's offering you half of the kingdom. We're dealing with a king who's offering you the full kingdom. He's not giving you a part. He's giving you a whole. Now look, we already looked at John 14, verses 13 and 14. If I'm the disciples, if I'm the apostles, I would be like, did I hear what I just heard? Like, I can't believe my ears. He's telling me whatsoever I ask, he's going to give it to me. Whatsoever you shall ask in my name to the Father, that will I do, that the Father may be glorified. Okay, well, let's turn over to chapter 15. Now look over here at chapter 15. I am the true vine. My Father is the husbandman. Abide in me, verse 4, and I in you. Verse 5, I am the vine, ye are the branches. Verse 6, if a man abide not in me. Verse 7, if ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. Same thing. Ye shall ask. Now there's qualifiers in this, right? We're not getting into any of that. I'm not talking about how to get your prayers answered. I'm not talking about the qualifiers. Okay, we know what James says, that most of your prayers, most of my prayers are, we pray so that we can consume things based upon our lusts, right? So there's definitely qualifiers in this, but forget about the qualifiers for a second and look at what Jesus Christ is saying. What verse were we at, 7? Ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that ye bear much fruit. So shall ye be my disciples. So 3 times he tells them, you can have the whole of the kingdom, and all you got to do is ask. Chapter 15, let's skip on down. Verse 12, this is my commandment. Verse 13, greater love hath no man than this. That's a 4th of July parade verse right there. A man laid down his life for his friends. Verse 14, ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you. Verse 15, verse 16. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you, that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain. That whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it you. 4 times. You know what this is, right? This whole section, starting around, chapter 12 or 13 or so? I think around chapter 13. This whole section of the Bible is like the last discourse that Jesus gives to his disciples. This is given basically the last day of his life, the day before his crucifixion. So, chapter 14, we have it 2 times. Chapter 15, we have it once, verse 7. We have it another time. We have 2 times. In chapter 15, we have 4 times here. Jesus is telling them, whatsoever you will ask in my Father's name, that I'll give you. Whatsoever you want to ask, I will do it to you. The Father desires fruit to you. Ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done to you. In verse 16, we just read it. Whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you. So the first 2 are, I'm going to do it. It shall be done. He shall do it to you. 4 times in 2 chapters. Pray, 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 pray. I'm offering you. What are you offering us, Jesus Christ? Master, Lord, what are you offering us? I'm offering you the kingdom. Not half. I'm offering you the whole thing. He's not done. Chapter 16. Down in verse 23, chapter 16, says, in that day. Okay, this is the same speech continued. Okay, this is the same thing right before. This is his last instructions before he ascends to heaven, which means it's like that last word. I mean, this is like everything that he's said in his whole life is being summed up right here, and he's giving them these final instructions. Chapter 16, verses 23, 24. In that day, you shall ask me nothing. Verily, verily, I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. Why is he repeating this thing? This is the 5th time. Whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he will give you. Hitherto have you asked nothing in my name. How are you going to pray? You're not praying to Jesus Christ when he's right there, right? He's got to leave. Which, by the way, him leaving was the right thing because it opened up possibilities. Now, I think this is a hard thing for us to physically wrap our heads around, because I'd prefer Jesus Christ to be here in the person, I think. But this is what we're missing. Like, this is where we're missing this. We don't do this. We don't try this. We don't behave this way. We don't pray like this. Verse 23, whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. Hitherto have ye asked nothing in my name. Ask. He said, just one more time. Ask. And ye shall receive, that your joy may be full. So did you catch that? Jesus Christ wants you to ask. It's almost like he needs you to ask. You want to maintain fellowship. He needs the fellowship. I say need loosely, but it's almost like, hey, he wants it, he needs it, he desires it. And it's just like, it's come on, pray, come, ask, pray. And he says here, ask, just straight up, ask. And ye shall receive, and then of course that final phrase right there, that your joy may be full. Maybe that has something to do with why none of my coworkers are ever happy about anything. Maybe that has something to do with why no one really talks about the good things that God does, and all we do is just complain about the bad things that we have in our life. Maybe it has something to do with it, that your joy may be full. Well, guess what we don't do? I mean, prayer. No, you know what we do is we try to do everything by our efforts. I'm going to fix this problem. Right? I'm serving the Lord, I'm reading the Bible, doing the best I can, but I got a problem, I'm just going to go fix it. And maybe give a little bit of prayer out to the Lord, at food time, but that's not what we're talking about. And I want to show you this. That's 6 times in 3 chapters, and he does it a 7th time right here down in verse 26. We'll read verse 25. These things have I spoken unto you in Proverbs, but the time cometh when I shall no more speak unto you in Proverbs, but I will show you plainly of the Father. At that day ye shall ask in my name, and I say not unto you that I will pray the Father for you. Ask in my name. So, what's the problem here? Have you ever seen, and think about this, is there anything else in the scriptures that Jesus Christ, like machine gun, emphasized other than this? Like, he'll preach about the Comforter, right? He mentioned that several times in a row, but what other promises do we have that Jesus Christ is like, pray? Okay, you heard me say it? Okay, but what I meant to say is pray. Did I say pray? Yeah, but what I meant to say was pray. Did you hear me say that? Well, I don't know if you heard me say it, but what you need to do is you need to ask the Father in my name. And if you didn't hear that one, guess what? Well, what you need to do is you need to ask the Father in my name. I mean, if you miss all of that, I'm going to tell you this. Here's the secret. You need to ask the Father in my name. 7 times in one little brief discourse that he's given in his last hours that he has with his disciples. Pray, 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 pray. One man said to do much for God is to ask much from God. Do we not believe God's able? I mean, that's kind of the question. Ephesians 3:20. We'll close out with this verse right here. Ephesians 3:20. How much of our regret up in heaven is going to be, I just didn't spend enough time praying? Ephesians 3:20, now unto him that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think. So imagine if we were like the queen coming into the king, and he's touching the scepter unto the half of the kingdom. Okay, we go to the Father and we ask unto the half of the kingdom. Well, unto him that's able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we ask. So he's going to give you more than half the kingdom, or think, according to the power that worketh in us. And to him be glory in the church by Jesus Christ throughout all ages, world without end. I'm reading 2 books right now, both on prayer, and then one is talking about the prayer revival that started in New York back in the 1800s. And that last phrase right there, he makes a note in that book, because it was written by a contemporary of that movement. And that the writer of the book says every person that was talking about how the prayer revival changed everything that they ever did was they pointed up to Jesus Christ. And they talked about how wonderful God was, and how holy he is, and how he's done all the work, and how it's all because of him. Not a single one ever came and took the glory unto themselves. Honestly, that's probably one of the biggest things with our prayer lives, is because, like James says, our prayers all go to consume things upon our own lusts and not to get our hearts in line with God. But nevertheless, what did Jesus Christ say 7 times? It's like he's begging you, come. He's begging you. Pray, come. Get in his presence. Spend time like you've never spent before. Spend time in prayer. One thing that's challenged me is we're Americans. We like to set our clocks, right? One of those guys in the Vietnam War, talking to an American soldier, they were talking about, how far is this? How much time does it take? And blah, 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 blah. And then this Vietnam told this American soldier, like, you Americans have all the watches, but we have all the time. One thing that challenged me is, the time. I got to spend 10 minutes in prayer. I got to spend 15 minutes in prayer. Some people say I got to spend an hour in prayer. I got to spend 2 hours in prayer, 4 hours in prayer. And the thing that, as I was reading these books, the thing that challenged me is prayer for these particular men were saying that they were being asked, how long do you spend in prayer? And they just said, hey, you know what I do is I can't help but not pray. I can't do my day without spending time with the Lord in prayer. And it was a drive of necessity that took men to the Lord. Took them on their knees even, and bowed their faces before God. It was a drive of necessity for their day that took them to God in prayer. And that seems kind of in line with what Jesus is saying. Pray, 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 pray. God, thank you for the little Bible study in this midweek service. And Lord, I'm just thankful. God, I'm thankful for the book, and thank you for the blood, and thank you for Jesus Christ. Thank you for the challenge that I get, Father, from reading the scriptures and preparing the sermons. And Lord, I want to be challenged. God, I never not want to be challenged. I want to be challenged by the Holy Spirit of God and by the words of God to draw nearer to you, to live your life. And God, I love you.